Welcome to the opening round of the Japan Cup for 2024 here at Sportsland Sugo. In the Tohoku region and the north of Honshu Island, it's a fantastic circuit, opened in 1975, but importantly this is the first of the standalone events for 2024. Japan Cup will run alongside the GT World Challenge Asia, but it's a solus event here and this fabulous circuit. It's nearly 23 degrees air temperature, 37 degrees track temperature, a bit more humid than yesterday, but a fabulous racing circuit on which the drivers can go out and play. 2 one-hour races here today, the first starting very soon, the second at 3:15 this afternoon, but all the drivers absolutely loving the circuit as it twists. It drops from 70 metres from the start line all the way down to turn 12, which is just before it starts coming up an incredibly steep climb. There it is, back onto the start-finish straight. And certainly, let's look out for that record. 1 minute 20.721 seconds was set in 2022. And that's when the 2 victories when GT World Challenge Asia visited here were shared by Ferrari and Aston Martin. We have a Ferrari on pole position today, and we may well get to see that romping onto victory. But 1 hour of racing with a driver change some way in between. And we'll see how that's cut. One driver's racing the entire event on his own, Tadeo Uematsu, so we'll look out for him. He's starting very well, third on the grid. But it's all about getting the points in the bag. It's a series for Japanese racers in GT3, but Asian racers as well compete in GT4. We've got 14 cars split between 8 in GT3 and 6 in the junior category GT4. All the drivers looking forward to working their way around these fabulous twists and turns, rises and falls here at Sportsland Sugo, looking here across the track from turn 4 back to the start-finish straight. But trees everywhere, climbs, falls. It's a fabulous, fabulous circuit, been enjoyed for the best part of 50 years. Very popular on the Japanese scene and gaining international notoriety for the challenge that it offers. That's the view looking down the back straight from turn number 8. Let's have a little look at
ジャパンカップへようこそ。SRO モータースポーツグループが主催する全8戦の新しいスプリント GT 選手権が始まります。
従来はパナテック GT ワールドチャレンジアジアパワードバイ AWS 選手権の一部だったジャパンカップは今シーズンから単独のシリーズへと進化を遂げました。GT3、GT4 クラスを主戦場に GT2 クラスと GTC クラスも参戦可能な複数クラスのシリーズです。
2024年シーズンはここスポーツランドスゴーから開幕。
富士スピードウェイ、鈴鹿サーキット、そして岡山国際サーキットで全4大会が開催。残りの3大会はパナテック GT アジアと併載され SRO-GT パワーツアーと総称されます。今週末スポーツランドスゴーで史上初のジャパンカップ単独大会が開催。11メーカーのエントリーを集め1時間に及ぶ2本のスプリントレースが行われます。開幕戦の見どころはつい先週スーパー GT で優勝を飾った現役スーパー GT、 そしてスーパーフォーミュラドライバー笹原右京選手の参戦です。他にも昨年の GT3 アムクラスチャンピオンのコメットレーシングと GT4 チャンピオンの YZ レーシングはタイトル防衛に向けて挑みます。次戦の富士大会からはさらにエントリー台数が増える予定です。パナテック GT アジアと合同で開催される大会では2つのシリーズ合わせて最大50台もの GT マシンがエントリーする予定です。
最高峰の GT スプリントレースジャパンカップを見逃すな。
So thank you very much for that fantastic explanation from Suko Kanemoto, explaining all that lies ahead of us in the Japan Cup for 2024. Kicking off here at Sportsland Sugo, and again you can see in the background of the shot cars coming from nowhere. That's up the incredibly steep climb out of turn 13 onto the start-finish straight where it levels out. And good to see so many people down on the grid taking a look at these cars. And what a mix of manufacturers we have. Ferraris, Corvettes, McLarens, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins, Lexuses. But let's go down to the grid and hear from Benjamin Franasevici.
ジャパンカップの開幕戦スポーツランドスゴーへようこそ。新しい歴史の始まりです。It is the start of something new, and I must congratulate you, Benjamin, on this independent grid of the Japan Cup. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, like you said, it's our first race. It's our first ever Japan Cup grid. We're very excited. Our grid is very nice. We've got plenty of GT3s and GT4s. We're going to have more cars during the season joining us. It's only the beginning. We're looking forward for the season, and I think next year is going to be another great season. So you can see the race fans The grid is cool. I'm over the moon.
Well, that's obviously here. It's the heat is on, but why did you choose to do an independent Japan Cup only?
Well, because our format and our racing is very popular, and Japanese team love what we do. But the problem is, Fanatec Asia is just too big now, and we didn't want to turn our teams away. So we had to create Japan Cup because it makes sense and there's a lot of interest. So it's only the beginning, like I said, and this is going to grow. So I'm really excited for the season and next year. And in Fuji, in a couple of weeks, we will have 49 GT cars. It's the biggest GT grid in Asia. We're knocking at the door of Europe. We're going to do better than Europe. So we're super excited to race in Japan.
Thank you very much, and let's enjoy the race.
Thank you. Have fun. Take care.
さあ、ジャパンカップなんですけれども、なぜジャパンカップを始めたかと言いますと、もう GT ワールドチャレンジアジアのエントラントが本当にもう大きく成長してまして、あまりにもリクエストが多かったということで、みんなレースさせてあげたいという思いでジャパンカップを、作ったということです。で、次の富士なんですけれども、なんと49台がレースするということでね、シーズンを大いに盛り上げていきたいとおっしゃってました。以上です。
Thank you very much, Amy Azawa. Fantastic interview down there with Benjamin Franisovici, the man who's put this together. As he said, the GT fields in Asia are growing and growing and will be challenging Europe. And this is testament to the sheer passion for GT racing in Japan. So 1 hour of racing up ahead of us. It was bright sunshine, but today a little bit cloudy, but certainly very, very good conditions for the first Japan Cup. The first of 2 here, and as Benjamin said, we move on to Fuji in a few weeks' time, then Suzuka early in July, and Okayama to wrap up the four-round series. 8 races across 4 rounds, and that's on the last weekend of August. But it's the here and now that counts, and a great array of cars. And just to reiterate, it's 8 cars in the faster GT3 class, and then 6 following them round in GT4. They'll be led around 2 formation laps before they get released to go racing. But right now it's very busy down on the grid. Great to see so many people in the grandstands. More importantly, getting down on the grid, getting close to the cars. That's what it's all about, experiencing these fabulous racing cars. But let us go down to the grid because Amy is going to be interviewing some of the drivers at the front end of the grid, and Shinji Takegi second on the grid. She'll be talking Bingo Racing Corvette driver. There he is.
選手がポールスタート、緊張されてましたか？
どうなんだろうね。でもスーパー耐久とかいろんなレース経験あるんで、そんなには緊張してないと思います。
どんなレースになりますか今日は？
できればぶっちぎりたいです。
ではね、ポールトゥーウィン目指して頑張ってください。
はい、ありがとうございます。頑張ります。
So I asked him whether the driver Yamawaki is a little bit nervous, but he's like, I don't think so because he has a lot of experiences in Super Taikyu as well, so he's going to do it. And then I asked about the strategy, and he said, hopefully a pole to win, and he wants to just rip it off. That's what he said. Back to you.
Thank you very much. And Amy will be moving around the front end of the grid to pick up the drivers. Hope we have to hear from GT4 pole as well, so I'm sure Amy will be bustling her way through the crowds. Great to see so many people down there. But just to run down the cars at the front of the grid, there is the Bingo Racing Corvette. That's second on the grid. We've got a K-Tunes Racing Ferrari on pole. The second row is shared by a McLaren, a Ferrari. Third row, a Lamborghini and an Aston Martin, a Lexus and a Nissan. That completes all the runners in the GT3 class, the powerful class at the front of the field. And 4 of the cars will be carrying our onboard cameras, which will make it very, very exciting indeed around this fantastic circuit. But again, it's great to see so many manufacturers. And then in GT4, we've got Toyotas, BMW, Porsche, and Mercedes as well. So a real mix of cars, and a few more will be joining us again next time out at Fuji in just a couple of weeks' time. But right now, with a slight heat haze shimmering over the circuit, I can see actually Amy running down towards the GT4 runners, and she'll be catching up very soon with another interview. And pole in that class was taken by Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia, and Haridamo Manopo, the only driver not from Japan in the Japan Cup, took pole in class, and his teammate managed to take pole for the second race this afternoon. And again, good to see so many manufacturers down there on the grid. There's the Comet Racing Ferrari right at the sharp end of the grid. So we'll look to see how that can progress from the outside of the second row. But down in GT4, again, great to see some of these shots. We're going to see the inside of these cockpits. We're working our way. Okay, well, let us go down with no further ado. And Amy is down on the grid with GT4.
GT4 クラスポールスタートということで、昨シーズンねチャンピオン取れなかったっていう悔しさをぶつけれますかね今日は。
そうですね、とてもいい位置からのスタートですし、レースのペースも悪くないと思うので、本当ミスなく落ち着いて戦えば、かなり勝てるチャンスあると思うので、まずは楽しみながら、レースしていければと思います。
それではね、お二人の力を合わせて頑張ってください。
はい、ありがとうございます。
So we are starting from a great position, and the race pace is good this whole weekend. So he is looking forward to a pole to win in the GT4 class. They have been working towards this, so he's quite confident that they will do this today. Back to you.
Thank you, Amy. That's Seita Nonaka, who'll be the second driver he'll be the driver who takes over in the second half of the race. And then number 39, Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia Supra that heads up the GT4 class. For Aston Martin fans, D-Station Racing, a real supporter of all GT racing around the world. They've brought one of their advantages to compete in the GT3 category, black or very dark green with light green stripes. The Lamborghini, the one Lamborghini this weekend, Akira Mizutani shares that with Yuki Nomoto, and that's easy to pick out. The Lamborghini mid, but sort of lime green, that's their racing colour, and they'll be carrying one of our onboard cameras, so that should give us an exciting ride around the circuit. And just to reiterate, the cars will go around for 2 formation laps behind the Toyota Supra safety car, the car sitting in white right at the front of the grid, and some of the race liveries are fantastic. K-Tunes Racing, they've got 3 cars here, so they've got the Ferrari on pole position, that's red, but the black and white checkered snazzy livery is on there, number 96 Lexus. Kazunori Suenaga will start in that, and also in GT4 the K-Tunes Racing has got a Supra as well. People now starting to clear the grid. Run Up Sports have brought their mighty Nissan GTR Nismo, always a popular car all around the world, but notably here in Japan, of course. And as the notes the trumpet ring out at the front end of the grid, everyone clearing the race surface. Applause to the trumpeter, and we should be underway very, very soon. There is car number 39, the car that leads GT4. Haridamo Minopa will start, and the driver we just heard from down on the grid with Amy Izawa, Seita Nonaka, will do the second half of this race. And there is a pit stop window in the middle of the race. If you make your driver change before or after that, that's too bad. But if you pit beautifully within the pit window, then that is what is required. And for the driver starting third on the grid, that's the Team Machina McLaren, Tadeo Uematsu at the wheel. He's doing the entire race on his own, but he'll have to stop, be at a standstill for the same minimum amount of time. That's 90 seconds from pit in to pit out, including the stationary period. Well, let's go down because Amy's caught another interview.
笹原選手、まずは先週のね、GT500 でのポールトゥミーおめでとうございました。はい、今週もフロントロースタートということで、はい、狙いますかね表彰台。
そうですね。練習走行からすごい調子は良くて、予選は単に僕たちのストラテジーだったりタイミングが合わなく、トラフィックに引っかかってしまったんですよね。なので武井選手も僕も多分ポールを取れる力はあったと思うんですけど、2番と3番からっていうことで、もちろん優勝は狙っていきたいんですけど、まずはね本当当たらずクリーンにレースを完走して、このかっこいいコルベットをちゃんとここに戻せるように頑張ります。
応援してますんで頑張ってください。
はい、ありがとうございます。
So, qualifying was not as good as they expected, but because they had traffic, they had the power to go pole position, but still they're starting from front row, so he's looking forward to a podium today. Also, the car looks great. The race pace has been here the whole weekend, so he is very much looking forward to the 2 races of today. And let's go green then.
Thank you very much. Perfect timing as the safety car pulls away. Amy completing that interview and translation of Ukyo Sasahara, who'll be taking the second half of this first race in that Bingo Racing Corvette that's multicoloured, starting on the outside of the front row. That's the side closer to the grandstand. Pole position, the side closer to the pit wall. And K2 Racing's number 98 Ferrari, that's one of the new Ferrari 296 GT3s. Daisuke Yamawaki will be leading that around. And to help the drivers get acclimatised with this morning's conditions here at Sportsland Sugo, around the 13 turns. Track length 3.586 kilometres, 2.228 miles. There'll be 2 formation laps. and the clock will actually start to tick down from 1 hour when we've completed one. Let's take a look at the grid. Daisuke Yamawaki, Keiichi's Racing Ferrari on pole position. Bingo Racing, Shinji Takai will start his Corvette from second. Then Tadeu Uematsu, who's doing the whole race on his own, will be third in his Machina McLaren. Alongside the second Ferrari, Comet Racing, Yorikatsu Tsujiko. Then Akiru Mitsutani with the bright green Lamborghini, and Tatsuya Hoshino, the D-Station Racing Aston Martin. Row number 4 shared by the Lexus of Kazunori Suinaga, and Masaki Nishikawa will be alongside. In the last of the GT3s, that's his Nissan in 8th. Then on pole for GT4, Haridamo Manopo for Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia, and Yuki Fujii in the Wise Racing BMW. Then the second of the GT4 rows, Yoshitomo Makino, Sunrise Porsche, and alongside Toshiyuki Ochai in the Wakayama Toyota with Hojus Racing. Final row, Yoshichika Nagai, Keiichi's Racing Toyota, and bringing up the rear, the only AM in GT4, Kiwamu Katayama in the ABSA Motorsport Mercedes. For many years, ABSA Motorsport has been running McLarens, but those switched across in GT4 to the Mercedes AMG. So the first of the formation laps now completed by the front runners, again weaving to get the heat into their Pirelli Racing tyres. Up to the first turn they go. We're riding on board here in the car that's starting on the outside of the front rows, the Bingo Racing Corvette. That's through turns 1 and 2. The track then doubles back and starts dropping down the slope behind the paddock to turn 3. Down some more. You can see this chute down to turn 4. Then the track, when the cars get up to this next bend, starts to tighten up. This is the view from the car starting 4th. The Comet Racing Ferrari turns uphill a tiny little bit, then turns 5 and 6, a left-right chicane, and then the track keeps on rising up as it goes round a group of wooded copse up to turn 7. And it's a right-hander. Here's turn 7 coming up, looking through the windscreen of the Lamborghini. It's car number 563. Turn 8, important corner because it leads on to the second longest straight, a dropping straight down the hill with a little right-hand kink, which officially counts as turn 9, but for the drivers it's really just a notification that they've got a corner coming up, which is turn 10. Riding on board with the GT4 pole starters, Haridamo Manopo now running down the back slope, car number 39, and you can see the tail end of the field. Here's the entire GT4 segment, all of the sextet, but now with just a few corners to go, the driver on pole position, still leading the field around as he should. All the teammates listening from the pits, crossing their fingers, and that's Shinichi Takagi, thumbs up for the moment, because his teammate Daisuke Yamawaki is in pole position. The safety car will pull off as it goes up the very steep climb from turn 13 onto the start-finish straight. Turn 13, they're in it now. It keeps on turning to the right, and the track really starts to buck up the hill. Safety car should pull over. The car should be in their best 2x2 formation. Just need the Bingo Racing Corvette to move up alongside the number 98 Ferrari from Keiichi's Racing, doing exactly what the doctor ordered. If anything, the safety car is backing them up to make sure they're all fine. The GT4 field will come around just a few seconds, and the safety car pulls off. Have to look for the lights on the gantry. So hard for the drivers. They come up this really steep climb onto the start-finish straight. But the first race of the first round of the Japan Cup for 2024 is underway, and a very, very good start from Yamawaki in pole position. The Bingo Racing Corvette, now the power of the great big V8 chimes in. And you can see Shinji Takai trying to have a look up to the outside, but the inside was covered nicely. Tadeu Uematsu holds on to third place. The Comet Racing Ferrari runs a tiny bit wide. Does that give a chance to the number 563 Lamborghini? No, not quite. And in 6th place is D-Station Racing. Tucked in behind is the Lexus of Keiichi's Racing. And it really, at the moment, is grid order. And the most likely change is coming, unfortunately, with contact into turn 4. Round goes. Oh, dearie me, that was so unfortunate for the Comet Racing Ferrari. Certainly there was a push and a probe from Akira Mitsutani, but he just stuck his nose up the inside. The Ferrari didn't yield, and round it went. So that's at the very, very tail of the field. And also the problem sorted out behind them was that Haridamo Manopo, leading the GT4 class, had to take evasive action, and he's dropped to the tail of GT4, having been leading it. But the first 3 are making their escape because of that problem, and Tadeu Uematsu in the third place McLaren is looking very, very busy indeed, all over the tail of Shinji Takai in the Corvette. And while that little battle for second place happens, our pole sitter Daisuke Yamawaki is just starting to ease his way clear at the front of the field. Let's say the stewards may need to have a look at that contact between the number 563 Lamborghini from ANR and the unfortunate Comet Racing Ferrari number 7. That's fallen down the order. Rod Suzuko there. Nothing he could do about that, really, I'd say. But up the hill for the first time at full racing speed, and our race leader has an advantage of 0.7 of a second or thereabouts over the Bingo Racing Corvette. Tadeu Uematsu, driving really beautifully in his McLaren, hangs on in third place. Then there's the gap where the Comet Racing Ferrari should have been, and the car that crosses the line is the car that driver who may be in trouble, Akira Mitsutani. There he is, coming down the slope through turn 3. He's in 4th place. Up into 5th place is Kazunori Suinaga in the K-Tunes Racing Lexus. Good-looking car and a great-sounding vehicle. I guess the story, another driver who was delayed in all of that is the D-Station Racing Aston Martin. He's the 3rd car in this group, just behind the black and yellow Porsche, but he's a GT3 runner. So he's been delayed, he's going to work his way forward, but just has to pick his moment through turn 7, not a passing space. Turn 8, yep, the power he has should work for him as he goes on down the hill. He'll pass that Sunrise Boulevard Porsche, GT4 Porsche, lights are flashing. He also wants to pick his way past the Wise Racing BMW, but that has to stay wide. Does it very nicely, actually lets the GT3 car come through, but didn't want to lose any of his own momentum. But at the moment, leading the GT4 class, it's Yuki Fujii. There he is, but that Sunrise Boulevard Porsche is all over his tail. Yoshitomo Makino is the driver of the wheel at that, and the car 3rd in that queue is Takeshi Suehiro, who's now the top-ranked Toyota driver in GT4 because of the problem for Haridamo Minopo with that turn 3 sort out on the opening lap, dropping him to the tail of the field. And another car also delayed. You could just see behind the GT4 runners was Masaki Nishikawa down in 10th position in the run-up sports Nissan Nismo car that will also work its way past the GT4 runners in the next few laps. But at the front end of the race, our race leader Daisuke Yamawaki has doubled his lead to 1.3 seconds. But great battles everywhere. Probably the best actually is this one we're looking at now for going through turn 8. Down the back straight they go. The Bingo Racing Corvette, Shinji Takai at the wheel, and tucked in behind Tadeu Uematsu in behind, but taking a look down the hill he goes. Nope. Nothing doing, so he tucked his McLaren back in behind the Corvette, and all the time that's happening, our race leader Daisuke Yamawaki getting slightly further clear. Now let's take a look at what happened. Beautifully clean start off the grid. You can see the Lamborghini in 5th place has caught the row in front of them, is having a look to go between the McLaren that takes 3rd place and the Comet Racing Ferrari. Turn 1, all present and correct. Turn 2, he's almost alongside the pale Ferrari, but what happened next was where it went wrong. Through turn 3, it's all covered off by the Comet Racing Ferrari, but determined to take the inside line into turn 4, up the inside, hitting the curb, hitting the grass, unfortunately, and I'm afraid Akira Mizutani went for a gap that wasn't really car-shaped, not quite big enough, but the unfortunate person in that incident was not Mizutani, not for now anyhow, but it was Yoritaki Sujiko, who started the Comet Racing Ferrari. He got spun around, and at the moment he's some way back, still listed at the tail of the field. Now let's ride on board that Lamborghini, all clear in front of him. Mizutani in 4th place, but he's 5 and a bit seconds down on that lead trio, the trio of Yamawaki, Takai and Uematsu. Now he's got clear track, just looking to see his best lap pace. Not as impressive as those at the front, but he's all on his own. Maybe, just maybe, he can be caught by Kazunori Suinaga. But here's our race leader, cool, calm, collected, 2.3 seconds clear. Daisuke Yamawaki going beautifully. So his teammate Shinichi Takagi, we saw him in the pit garage before the race, thumbs up from him. He was suggesting it could be a good race, and so far it's an absolute dream. However, suddenly Shinji Takai has shaken Tadeu Uematsu off his tail, so instead of fighting to defend 2nd position, he can now start to make his attack in that Bingo Racing Corvette. So let's see what the gap is after 5 laps on the board. 2.6 seconds, and on that last lap, only a 1/3 of a second difference between our race leader Yamawaki and Shinji Takai. But I reckon Takai in that Bingo Racing Corvette will settle down in 2nd place and may start taking little chunks out of the leader. 3rd place at the moment, also leading the GT3 AM class, is Tadeu Uematsu. He's the only driver who doesn't have a teammate this weekend, so he'll come in around the halfway point of the race, he'll stop, and in GT3, from the moment you enter the pit lane to the moment you exit, it's a minimum of 90 seconds. Looks like there's a drive-through penalty there, or was it a puncture being replaced for the Lamborghini that triggered the accident at the start of the race on turn 4 on the opening lap. So Kira Mizutani, the ANR with Vincenzo Sospiri racing at Lamborghini, so that will have dropped him right down to the tail of the field. Just waiting for any confirmation that it was a drive-through penalty, but I would suggest that was a fairly clear-cut incident. Right, now what we're seeing in the background of the shot, leader in GT4 is still the BMW. Car number 50 going very well in the hands of Yuki Fujii, and he's got a couple of cars chasing him. He doesn't want to be distracted because they're GT3 runners. It's the Comet Racing Ferrari that poor Yorikatsu Tsujiko was spun around on the opening lap of the race, and also the run-up Sports Nissan. They've got more power, they've got more grip, they will be coming through. The cars that are in shot now, second overall and third overall, Porsche versus Toyota in the GT4 class. 82 has the advantage at the moment. That's Yoshitomo Makino, but certainly some beautiful cornering angles there from the Bukama Toyota, with her just racing, trying its best to catch up with the Porsche. Up the climb they go. It looks steep on TV, but I tell you, when you walk it, it is way, way steeper than you think. One of the steepest stretches of track I can think of almost anywhere in the world, actually. And that Sunrise Boulevard Porsche Cayman, 718 Cayman, GT4 RS Club Sport, to give it its full nomenclature, going very nicely indeed in the hands of Yoshitomo Makino. A car that's going much better. It's last. Here it is, but it's the leader in GT4 Ram, but certainly going much better in the race than it has to this point. It's Kiwamu Katayama, who's sharing with Takashi Toyoda. Takashi will do the second part of the race, but I guess as AMSA Motorsport becomes accustomed to this car, they're really starting to pick up the pace with it. All over the tail of the K-Tunes Racing Toyota Supra, trying to stay off the curbs. So you can see some of them there at turn 5 and 6. They're quite big, those curbs. They can certainly bounce you back across the track. Up front, the race still being led by the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, Daisuke Yamawaki, but he only gained a 1/10 of a second last time around. So certainly, as I suspected, Shinji Takai starting to settle down to giving chase in the Bingo Racing Corvette. In the background, you're going to see that Corvette coming through, and the GT3 AM leader in his McLaren today, Uematsu, about another 4 seconds off this battle after a really fantastic start from the McLaren driver. He's starting to fall away a little bit. Right, first and second, clear line of sight out of turn 8 for Takai. He can see the Ferrari now. And this is the comeback story. This is the 563 Lamborghini. With that drive-through penalty serve, Mitsutani pressing on. Now it's his turn to try and work his way past all those GT4 runners. Again, it's about picking your moment. Certainly irony there. We're looking at a point that the Lamborghini hit the Comet Racing Ferrari at turn 4 on the opening lap. With all the grunts in the world, that Huracan GT3 Evo 2 picks off the Sunrise Boulevard Porsche. Job done. Now he's heading off after the Wise Racing BMW that leads the class, and there it is, just about a second in front of him, and that gap coming down all the time as the cars run down the slope, fairly steep slope from turn 8 to the kink at 9 and then down to 10. Now we're looking through the windscreen of the number 39 pole-sitting GT4 Toyota. Haridamo Minopo did all the hard work in qualifying. His teammate has also taken pole for the second race, but it's a chase, not a race for the Indonesian driver. He's just got to stay cool and calm. He's got the pace to overpower some of these GT4 rivals. He did in qualifying, and right now he can pick his lines, but he's getting closer and closer to car number 38, which is the Wakayama Toyota entry with Takeshi Suehiro at the wheel. Sorry, it's Toshiyuki Ochai. Sorry, I had the numbers back to front there for the 38 crew. Fastest lap of the race, set last time around by a race leader, Daisuke Yamawaki, 1 minute 22.8 seconds. His advantage on that lap, actually, just as I thought it was starting to dwindle, is actually extended by half a second, so really good lap from the Ferrari drivers. And this GT4 battle, it's had a handful of GT3 cars that were disturbed coming through, but really from Fujii, who's leading the class in that number 50 Wise Racing BMW there. He's got 3 rivals on his tail in this 4-car trade. He's got a Porsche second in class, and then you've got Toshiyuki Ochai, now I've corrected myself, in the Wakayama Toyota, getting his slipstream down the slope and catching the pair of them is Haridamo Manopo in the black-nosed Toyota at the back of the pack. He was the driver who took GT4 class pole. How hard does Manopo dare push? He's going to get on this tail of this battle. He's going to pick his moment in terms of the pace. He has got it to pass them, but he's got to find the place to go with that pace. GT4 cars make a really good rumble around this circuit, and with so many different manufacturers competing in GT3 and GT4, you can close your eyes and listen at certain points and then try and identify them. And certainly one of the best rumbles comes from the Lexus in the GT3 class, and likewise the Bingo Racing Corvette. So there it is, the first 4 cars in GT4, all running in a GT4 Silver AM class according to the ranking of their drivers. The car that there is one car that's an AM runner in GT4, that's the SRO Motorsports Mercedes, that's stepping up its pace but running at the very back of the field, car number 16 with Kiwamu Katayama at the wheel. And here comes Manopo shaping up a rival Toyota driver. Ooh, up the inside, and it was seeded. I have to say that Toshiyuki Ochai made it very easy indeed. Now let's see if the car that took pole for GT4 got dropped to the back of the field on that opening lap sort out, can now hunt down the Sunrise Boulevard Porsche. There it is, the little Cayman with the yellow and black race livery. This is the view on board with Haridamo Manopo down the hill through the little kink at turn 9, braking heavily into turn 10. Take a slightly wide line if you choose through here, then you swing the car from the left of the track over to the right. Track continues to drop, slope not so steep through turn 11. Turn 12 follows, and now the final drop down to the lowest point on the circuit, 70 metres lower than the top of the circuit. Turn 13, it goes on and on. There's a little chicane you can see going off to the right and rejoining. That's used by the motorbikes when they come here, but the cars, it's a wonderful sweep. Now, how do you like your GT3 races? Do you like Lamborghinis? Do you like Nissan? Well, you've got one of each there. And Akira Mizutani in the Lamborghini, we're riding on board with him. Here's the corner where it all came unstuck on the opening lap. That's turn 4, but he dives up the inside of Masaki Nishikawa's Nissan. Made it look very easy, but in terms of their natural pace, I'd say certainly at this point in the race, Mizutani can lap and has lapped 2.5 seconds a lap faster than the best performance thus far from the Nissan in the hands of Nishikawa. Up front though, it's a masterclass being put on by Daisuke Yamawaki, because he's leading by 6.7 seconds there. He is using all the road and a little bit more, but not too much more. Through turn 7, turns right again. This time instead of turning onto the level, you're turning into the drop. There it is, turn 8, down the slope. The gap now getting harder and harder for Shinji Takai to keep an eye on him. Still the Corvette not yet into that long shot, and by the time the Bingo Racing entry, car number 9 would come round turn 8, out of the bottom of the straight and out of sight goes our race leader, Daisuke Yamawaki. Again, very neat, and just so rare to have a team coming here. Rare to have a team running 3 cars, but they're running 2 in GT3, but not even the same 2 in GT2. They're running this Ferrari and also car number 96. They're running the Lexus and then a Toyota Supra in GT4, so plenty of variety in their garage. And it could be a question of where our race leader catches the traffic. So he's turning through turn 1 into turn 2, and a little gaggle of cars is between turn 3 and turn 4, so in the next couple of laps he'll get onto their tail. Haridamo Manopo, we're riding with him, still 3rd after that first lap mishap in the GT4 class, but certainly much closer than he was a lap before the tail of Yoshitomo Makino's Sunrise Boulevard Porsche, which runs a little bit wide, little bit tail happy there through turn 7. Oh, another twitch and a better exit clearly out of turn 8, and there's going to be a change for 2nd place in GT4. I think Makino was driving, looking at his mirrors a little bit there to see where the charging Haridamo Manopo was. He's on the outside line, he's going to be kept there. Manopo goes to 2nd in class. Very well done indeed, and in fact Yoshiyuki Ochai in the second of those Toyotas, the white one with green flashes, got very close to the tail of the Porsche as well as they turned into turn 10. Good move there from Haridama Minopo. Minopo's running very, very wide there. I think he's got a little bit rattled. Maybe his tyres are starting to go off a little bit because he certainly wasn't taking the crisp lines he'd been taking before. And now the race leader is up alongside the GT4 group. Lights are flashing. He's picked off 4 of them. He's got 2 more to go. There they are. Car second in GT4, the car that started on pole in the class. Haridama Minopo is just across his bows into turn 2, will still be in front. Okay, well, let's go down with Amy with Fujiwara.
表彰台争いが今繰り広げられてるんですけれども、見ててヒヤヒヤしますね。
そうですね、結構ヒヤヒヤするんですけど、今週通して牧野選手本当に頑張ってタイムもどんどん上げてきているので、決勝はもう本当に牧野選手自身に任せて、自分はそれをもうフォローアップするような形でとにかく走っていきたいと思ってます。
So the driver Makino, he has a great growth with this racing. Every day he's been better. So it is quite fun to watch him out there having a blast. And they are looking forward to the podium. 藤原選手はシングルシーターに乗ってらっしゃったり、このポルシェとの違いだったりどうですか？もう初めてのことばかりとインタビューでおっしゃってましたけど。
そうですね、GT4 自体初めてで、やっぱシングルシーターに比べると車重も重いので、その車の動かし方からもう本当に難しかったんですけど、でもこう自分もなんていうんですか、ツーリングカーは何回も乗ってたんで、その経験が今生きてるかなと思ってます。
では引き続き表彰台狙って頑張ってください。
頑張ります。
So he is a single-seater driver. I asked about the difference with his Porsche and what he has been racing in, and he said it's been a big learning process so far. The car is just heavier, and you need to get used to the heaviness and the steering and everything, but he's very confident now, and he's looking forward to seeing me on the podium then. Back to you.
Thank you, Amy, and good to hear from Daiki Fujiwara there. Again, one of the young guns coming into the series, crossing over from single-seaters. A decade ago, you wouldn't have young drivers coming across. GTs reserved for drivers who are further into their careers, but now it's a very, very clear career path for a lot of these drivers who hope to become the pro drivers in the years to come. Right now, Tadeu Uematsu is picking his way past the car we were just talking about. Yoshitomi Makino keeps out of the way in his Cayman, so the third place McLaren, the car that's leading GT3 AM, picks another one off. It's about managing the traffic here. You might get close, but you've got to be sure there's enough space. Certainly other circuits can be a lot more full. So some great racing in there between GT4. Doesn't seem to matter if you're leading the class or fighting over third place. Still plenty to be playing for. And right now, Hojust Racing pushing very, very hard indeed. Oh, a bit of overtaking here. Comet Racing, number 7, holding down its 5th place. He's trying to go for 4th. So plenty of action going on for the driver who was spun on the opening lap, Yorikatsu Suzuko. Lamborghini's paid the price because it's some positions further back after that drive-through penalty. Wow, look at that really lovely clear-coloured Ferrari. Unusual, we normally see them in darker hues, and that's going very well now for Comet Racing. Unfortunate about that setback on the opening lap of the race. Again, this GT4, oh no, oh. Lovely race liveries, don't scrape them off, guys. There's a little bit of contact there as we had Toshiyuki Ochai coming on through, and poor old Yoshitomo Makino tried to resist, but eventually I think discretion was the better part of valour there, and he's ceded another position. Down the hill we go into turn 10, but once the move has been completed, then a little bit of a mistake from the driver who just gained third place in GT4. And Ochai ran a little bit wide there, so maybe they'll swap back the other way. But all along in the class, you've had Minopo coming from the tail up to second place in class. He's got to gain 5 seconds to catch the GT4 class leader, which is why it's Racing's BMW, driven beautifully by Yuki Fujii. Up front, by the way, race lead has extended and extended. Daisuke Yamawaki has pulled ever further clear. He's 10.8 seconds clear of Shinji Takai in the Bingo Racing Corvette. Now, after all that work, the Comet Racing Ferrari was thumped down the order on the opening lap. He started fourth and he's back there now, back into fourth place. What's he got to do? Tadeu Matsu is actually now starting to go better and recap Shinji Takai, Bingo Racing Corvette. Then there's a gap of, well, 28 seconds. So Comet Racing can reduce the gap, but I don't feel it's in the remit of Chujiko at the moment to make all that up before the pit window opens. Because it's going to open in just over 5 minutes' time. It will stay open for 10 minutes in the middle of the race, and he will hand over that Comet Racing Ferrari to Yusuke Yamasaki for the second half of the race. And looking at our race leader, Daisuke Yamawaki, you have to say, well, he's going beautifully. His best lap, 1 minute 22.8, which was very close to his pole time. Now, let's have a look. There's a little graphic showing who's fastest in which of the sectors. The first of the three sectors is a McLaren. That's the car in third place. Then the long middle sector, which is from exit of turn 4 to the exit of turn 12, it's a Ferrari, the race leader, that's fastest, but with all the punch and the grunt in the final sector, it's the Corvette of the third place driver, Shinji Takai, who's top of the charts in that one. And already the pit stops have started. Pit window is open, and certainly Wise Racing, leading the GT4 class, have opened it up, and likewise after a really good charge for the Wakayama Toyota crew, driver change there. And Takeshi Suehiro taking over that one. The GT4 pit stops have to be a little bit longer. It's a 90-second minimum for cars like the 96 Lexus in GT3, but in GT4 you cannot leave the pits within 125 seconds. The Lamborghini getting very close to the D-Station Racing Aston Martin, and so he's played catch-up. There's been a drive-through penalty. This is the Lamborghini's second visit to the pits, and it comes in from 7th place overall, so that too fought its way back past all the GT4 runners, and has done a good job, but just that little bit of over-enthusiasm on the opening lap of the race. Race leader is in the background. K-Tunes Racing's got a very full garage. I think 2 of its 3 runners are in. The Bingo Racing Corvette from second comes in as well. So just a handful more cars need to report in, but certainly for Daisuke Yamawaki, taking his seat insert out of the car. Now he kneels down to strap Shinichi Takagi on board. Fresh set of Pirelli Racing rubber going on there as well. Comet Racing going for one further lap, well, maybe even a few more after their problems on the opening lap of the race. Yorikatsu Sujiko presses on, just looking to see if his pace is improving. Yeah, it's close to his best, so he's worked those tyres really rather well. Manopa Haridama, you can just see him in the background of the shot. That's come in from his climb from the tail of GT4 back to second in class. Did one further lap relative to his rivals, and may have gained a little more ground on the class leader, which is still the Wise Racing BMW. So at one point we had pretty much all of the 14 cars in the pit lane, 8 in GT3, 6 in GT4. There's that seat insert, just remembered to pick it up. That's Shinji Takai running away and handing his Corvette over to Ukyo Sasahara. Tidy, but still in the background you can see just one car in the pit lane. That's the Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia entry, and we had an interview with Amy with the second driver, and that's Seita Nonaka. We'll see what he can do in the second half of this race. It's a 1-hour race, and we haven't quite reached the halfway point. We've got 32 minutes left to play with, but Tadei Uematsu is leading the race. Comet Racing pressing on. Comet Racing clearly deciding to press on and have their pit stop as late as they possibly can. And so Yorikatsu Sujiko, yeah, neat, tidy, but just frustrated, no doubt. But the pace he's showing suggests in the second race, as long as there are no mishaps, he can do this all over again. mean, if you look at any driver around this circuit, there's almost not a point at which they're not really working hard. Interesting that Lexus, having had its pit stop, car 96, Mario Nitta is now starting to weave around, not quite sure he's got the heat he wants yet into his Pirelli black sticky rubber. He wants it hotter, stickier, grippier, doing what he can. So we still have four of the right drivers have not come into pits. Tadeu Uematsu, there he is, race leader, also leading the GT3 AMP class. He's obviously going to run as long as he can. Actually, he can come in any time because he's only handing over to himself. He's driving solo in this race. He doesn't have a teammate. But maybe it's wise in that case, wait until all the other drivers have made their pit stops and have a nice clear pit lane, loads of space for Team Machina to sort him out. Run-Up Sports Nissan, the GTR Nismo, coming in for its driver change. That will be Atsushi Tanaka who'll be taking that over. The good thing is about these pit stops, as I said, it's a minimum of 90 seconds from when you arrive into the pit lane until 90 seconds later you exit the pit lane. So there's plenty of time for regular pit stop. So all settling down out on the track. Today Uematsu continues to lead, but the car that's expected to regain the lead is now in the hands of Shinichi Takagi. It's this car, it's the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. Getting off the tail of the D-Station Racing Aston Martin now, that's for the second half of the race in the hands of Kenji Hama. So looking to see the pace of the Lamborghini is looking quite good after its initial setback. It's in the hands of Yuki Nomoto, a driver who's been doing great things in Europe. Now we're just waiting to see what's going to happen in GT4. How are things going to change? No, that stays pretty. And the another car that's coming in late on, that's the ABSA Motorsport Mercedes with Kiwamu Katayama, who'll hand over to Kashi Toyoda. ABSA Motorsport for so many years has been running a GT3 McLaren, so this is something new for them, running in GT4. And Comet Racing, the pit window is still open, it's still open, it's still open. Well, he's not interested. He might be interested if they suggest they'll start to close it, but he's still got 5 minutes, no, about 3.5 minutes to go for that. So this lap and maybe one more, but there's no point in cutting it too fine before handing over to Yusuke Yamasaki. Tadeu Uematsu continues to lead the race. He too has eschewed coming into the pits. Going past Sunrise Boulevard Porsche, that's made its pit stop. But for Tadeu Uematsu, I would think surely this time around he might as well come in. Just to reiterate, he'll be the driver who does not do a driver change. He's beholden to the same limits of time, 90 seconds from pit in to pit out. Anything less than that, if he does it in 89 seconds, he'll have to come in and serve the extra second. So that will cost him the time it takes to come into the pits as well. So there's no point in doing that. What I can tell you though is that the previous race leading K-Tunes Racing Ferrari was much further clear of the Bingo Racing Corvette. And look, they're almost nose to tail. So about 7-8 seconds have been gained since the pit stops by Ukyo Sasahara. Well, I mean, he was winning in Super GT last weekend at Suzuka, so we know he's on good form. So first and second. And just unfortunate for the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, the last thing he wanted immediately ahead of him, as today Uematsu comes in for a pit stop as a GT4 runner. Can he pick it off before turn 7? Yes, he can, but unfortunately for him, the Bingo Racing Corvette goes through as well. He was trying to keep that car between them, so at least it would delay that mighty Corvette from accelerating out of turn 8 down the back straight. But the Corvette getting closer and closer, so right now, is will that they come out be passing ahead of the McLaren? I think they probably will, but certainly the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari lost out there in terms of pace when they rejoined. I don't think the pit stop was any slower. I think it was pace. Right now, Tadeu Uematsu, he did the first half of the race. He's planning to do the second. He's working his way up the pit lane as the rivals, they can't see him. Up the big rise they go, nose to tail, but I think they're going to be ahead of him by the time he's exited the pit lane. Oh, almost level even before he's left the pit lane. The Bingo Racing Corvette, well, he could have gone down the inside, but would have run out of space into turn one. Yes, they'll be first and second before the McLaren rejoins. A little switch there from the race leader, Shinichi Takagi. Just couldn't get the front end of the Ferrari to turn in. Yes, they're coming through into first and second. The McLaren was third before the pit stops. Will he be in the background of the shot, coming out in third position? It's very tight exit to the pit lane there. Two right hands at the top of the hill. This battle, we've got 26 minutes to enjoy it, and I really think Shinichi Takagi is going to have to fight very, very hard to keep his Ferrari in front. Still doesn't look as though he's comfortable with the grip he's getting from his rubber. He's certainly pushing it down the hill. It's going to be a question of defending, and certainly right. What the driver in second place, we're riding with him now. That's the Corvette of Ukyo Sasahara. Very, very promising young Japanese racer. He's not just looking at the tail of that Ferrari 296 GT3 as it brakes, twitches in the track in front of him. He's looking at those two GT4 runners up ahead and sort of calculating, where will we catch them? Can I use them to my advantage as I try to get past the Ferrari that continues to lead the race? The Ferrari's having to take a tighter line than he probably would have planned. The Corvette took a faster, wider line. Has got the power down. He's almost scraping the paint off the back of the Ferrari. This is defence, defence, defence. And you know what? Shinichi Takagi is only showing one line, the outside line to the Corvette, and with the foot in, Sasahara's done the good job to go round the outside. Surely he can cut back across, and he's into the lead of the race. Well, he went to the outside, into the inside. I thought he was through, but out of shot was the Ferrari. But Takagi keeps on fighting, but importantly into turn 4, up the inside goes the Bingo Corvette. By the time they get to turn 5, after that little short straight, there had been contact. So down the hill they go, and certainly there for Ukyo Sasahara, got the move down, a real shaker there. Brilliant job by Shinichi Takagi, but just couldn't resist. It looks as though the Corvette was through by turn 2, but Takagi fought on, eventually got shoveled wide onto the grass as they exited turn 4, and the Bingo Racing Corvette is pulling clear. That was robust, but certainly Sasahara, when interviewed by Amy Izawa before the start of the race, said they didn't quite achieve what they wanted in qualifying, but they had the car. Well, it certainly is the car. It's got loads of grunt, and now with the lead of, just waiting for Takagi to come on through, and then we can confirm the gap between the pair. But Sasahara coming through now. Let's have a look. Sasahara should be in the lead of the race. Yes, he is, coming through in second place. Should be Takagi. The gap 3.5 seconds. That was a mighty lap for the Bingo Racing team. Now, though, what's the contact between the two cars as they went through turn 4? Because side-by-side contact sometimes doesn't damage the cars, but it can lead to a little cut tyre, a little slow puncture. So we'll just have to see if all is okay, particularly with the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. But certainly that car was driven beautifully by Daisuke Yamawaki, and Amy has caught up with him to find out his fantastic stint. So Daisuke Yamawaki.
選手ご自身も素晴らしいスタートでスティントを振り返っていただけますか？
スタートは無難に接触もなくうまくいって、あとはペースも落ちなかったんで、自分のスティントとしては良かったかなと思ってます。はい。
So the start was very good. We had the pace, and he's very satisfied about his job. もうすごいバトル炸裂してて、ごめんなさい、ちょっと今スクリーンから話しちゃってるんですけど、この先表彰台狙って、はい、どんな走りを見せてくれますかね、高木選手。
高木選手多分また抜いて戻ってくると思うんで大丈夫だと思います。はい。
最後まで祈って、はい、見守りましょう。
はい、ありがとうございます。
お疲れ様でした。So he believes that Takagi Senshu, he will overtake the 9 car again, the Comet car again, so the Bingo Racing car again. So he has faith, and he will keep his fingers crossed. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Amy. Good interview there to find out all about Daisuke Yamawaki's first half of the race. He did everything he could, but since then Shinichi Takagi's been shoveled a little bit wide. He's now 4.7 seconds down, actually lapping at fairly good pace, but not as fast as Ukyo Sasahara, who's down into the 1 minute 21.4s, but better than that. Down in 6th place, though, is Yuki Nomoto. He's done a lot of racing in Europe in recent years, and he's making that number 563, the ANR Lamborghini absolutely fly. Fastest lap of the race for him last time around. 1 minute 21.1 seconds, so 0.3 of a second faster on the previous lap than our new race leader, Ukyo Sasahara. But as we heard from Yamawaki, he reckons Takagi, there is Takagi in the number 98 K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, should settle down and then maybe start catching Ukyo Sasahara. I think that's a big ask because Sasahara just looks that little bit better balanced. Now, GT3 AM class leader, as he has been, started third on the grid. He's running third in the race. Remember the opening laps of the race, he was right with the Bingo Racing Corvette and not too far behind the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. But certainly by this point in the race, while all his rivals are fresh, Tadej Uematsu is pressing on. He doesn't have a teammate, he's doing the whole job himself in that Team Machina McLaren. Now, where is it close? Number 7 still in 4th place, but certainly for the driver who's just taken it over, Yusuke Yamasaki, he's got Morio Nitta all over him, but in fact alongside him and catching the pair of them, easily out sweeping him down the straight between turns 9 and 10, and into the background, the fastest driver on the track at the moment is Yuki Nomoto, riding on board with him now in that 563 Lamborghini, looking left, looking right, but he has taken great chunks of time out of the pair ahead. He's gained more than 2 seconds on the last lap. There we are, fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 21.1. The Comet Racing Ferrari driver just kept out of the way. Yamasaki, he could see the writing on the wall, he could see that bright green Lamborghini coming up, he did not resist. Probably a sensible thing to do. And the next target for Nomoto as he comes over the crest there is that Lexus, which is crossing the line ahead of him with Morio Nitta, a very experienced Nitta. Going to see what he can do, but it's definitely going to be a case of defence for him. Nomoto, yeah, taking the classic racing lines. He's really finding a beautiful flow around this twisting circuit. The Lexus up in front looking a little bit uncomfortable there for Morio Nitta as he tried to get it turned into turn 4. It's a very short drag to turn 5. In GT4, there's the class leader. Went beautifully with the team last year. Masaki Kano. New teammate this year is Yuki Fujii, but right now Kano doing what he did so many times last year. Looking to see what the gap will be to Seita Nonaka, because don't forget that Nonaka's car started on class pole, was knocked to the tail of the field, or in the sort out on the opening lap, got caught in that sort of concertina effect, and a great charge back to second in class by his teammate Haridama Manopo. But the 39 Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia entry, second in GT4, is now actually lost a tiny bit of ground, lost half a second to the class leader. So Masaki Kano's experience is showing through yet again, his knowledge of racing the BMW M4 GT4. This is the view as the cars go up the hill through turns 5 and 6. Actually, if anything, Nonaka is now starting to be caught by the driver behind. Yes, car number 38 is getting closer and closer, which is now in the hands of Takeshi Suehiro. Here's a battle. This is the battle for 4th place, because a while ago it was occupied by the Comet Racing Ferrari. It's being passed first by Morio Nitta. We're looking at Nitta's car through turns 5 and 6, and it's being caught all the time by Yuki Nomoto. Up they go to turn 7, and the green Lamborghini hunting all the time. Great sounding V10 engine in the back of this. Wonderful shots, beautiful circuit here at Sportsland Sugo. Plenty of challenges, but not too many wide points, so your overtaking manoeuvre has to be very, very well considered. And many a time, if a driver's really being attacked, they can start to cook their tyres if they try to resist too long. Here's turn number 12, and the next corner is the one that really puts the G loading. It's turn 13. Oh, the Lamborghini, Nomoto on board, looking for the inside line. He seems to have the grip, but Nitta cuts across his nose. Perfectly legitimate. Looking to pick off the challenger. Great battle, but actually plenty of grunt from the Lexus. Up the hill they go. So it stays Nitta in 4th, Nomoto in 5th. Lexus ahead. Again, you can see the drivers pushing left, pushing right, looking what they can do through turns 1 and 2, down through 3 they go. Wonderful little shoot. Then turn 4, the corner has had most of the attempted overtaking in this race thus far, but the Lamborghini not quite close enough. They're catching a car up ahead, looking to see what it is. It would be a GT4 runner, probably the SRO Motorsports Mercedes, I think. it's right in the middle of the track in front of the Lexus, didn't move out of the way, and now both of them go through, but that was definitely advantage swinging in favour of the Lamborghini racer. Down the hill they go out of turn 8. What we're seeing again and again, at the end of the straight, the Lamborghini's quick, but the grunts that the Lexus has out of corners is absolutely mighty. So this is going to be a real struggle for Nemoto to find a way that he can get past Mario Nitta. Nitta for now doing a very good job holding down 4th place. And I think the big question here is where they're going to come across traffic in the remainder of this race. What have we got left? 16 minutes of this 1 hour race. The first race of the opening round of the 2024 GT4. And trying to get the slipstream up a steep climb they go. It's a Lamborghini. Try and get close enough. Needs another car length to get a proper slipstream. But again, the sleeker Lamborghini further along a straight seems to have an advantage, but no, he's 3 car lengths back, turning into turn 1. No gap there. And again, the Lexus in by. Well, let's go down with the GT4 class leader, car number 50, the Wise Racing BMW, the driver who started it, Yuki Fuji.
藤井選手、昨年の、ね、GT4 のチャンピオンのチームに、ね、加わって結構責任というか重みを感じながらのスティントだったかと思うんですけど、振り返っていかがですか？
そうですね、まずは壊さずにしっかり加納さんに、バトンを渡すことを考えて、はい、走ってました。
この先、表彰台真ん中行けますかね？
はい、車も決勝用に作ってきましたし、タイヤの状態もかなり良さそうなので、はい、いけると思ってます。
この先も頑張ってください。
はい、ありがとうございます。
So his job was to bring the car back safely without any contact to other cars, so he's very satisfied about what he did. The car feels great. They have been setting it up for this race today, and yeah, he's just looking forward to being on the podium. Back to you.
Yeah, nice, clear, concise interview there with Yuki Fuji, who really did a good job. And while that was happening, the Lamborghini was struggling to try and get past the Lexus, and it still hasn't. We're rejoining that battle now. And I really fancied the speed with which Nemoto started to catch Mario Nitta, that he'd depose him quite easily as long as he chose the sensible moment. But right now we're just not seeing that he's any quicker than Mario Nitta, again through turn 1, working hard. Another driver working hard is Seita Nonaka, and he's well, it's Toyota versus Toyota. Toyota bouncing over the curbs. Big mistake from a Nonaka there, went in too deep into turns 5. By the time he got to turn 6, he bounced off the curbs, and a great move from Takeshi Suehiro. So that's a change for 2nd place in GT4. But having just heard from Yuki Fuji, his Wise Racing BMW comfortably clear. Now 10 seconds of a margin in that class. 13-14 minutes remain in this 1 hour race. We've got to do it all over again later this afternoon, but right now we've seen some really good scraps, and I think some of the drivers will just realise if they haven't reminded themselves that the curbs at turn 5 and 6 are really very steeply mounted indeed. Hit them and it can bounce your car across the track, and that's precisely what happened on this lap by Seita Nonaka, and he's lost not just position, he's also lost a bit of ground. Let's take a look. Very close as they turned into turn 4, going up the hill. The black Gazoo Racing Toyota's offline a little bit and therefore couldn't get turned into turn 6, hit the curb, swung out. Great collection from Seita Nonaka, but advantage there. Takeshi Suehiro nips through into 2nd in GT4. Great replay action there, and the positions remain in that order. So it's the turn of the black Toyota to chase after the white and green one and see if those positions can be reversed again. Still behind them, the battle goes on to see who will be holding on to 4th place, and it's still Mario Nitta in that great rumbling Lexus, and it's not for want of trying from Yuki Nemoto. The green Lamborghini looking one way, looking the other, just going through the point, but staying off the curbs, that's the important thing through turns 5 and 6. And all along they're catching another car up ahead. That could play into their hands. No, 2 cars up ahead. Oh, this could be interesting. They should catch those GT4 runners at the bottom of the hill. Power, brilliant exit by the Lamborghini. Headlights being flashed by Mario Nitta. He's looking one way, looking the other. The low Lamborghini almost invisible to him. Tucks around the outside. Can he go the whole way around the GT4 runners? Gets round, gets into 4th position. Fantastic move by Yuki Nemoto. It was all down to getting a better exit from turn 8, getting the power down sooner. And where they caught the GT4 runner. Seita Nonaka trying to stay out of the way, but he has to do some cornering, and now Nemoto goes around the outside of the second of those GT4 Toyotas. It worked very well for him, but it was all down to being neat and tidy through turn 8. Maybe a slight slip from Morio Nitta, and that was the loss of momentum that was all was required for the Lamborghini chaser, who is now up into 4th place. Yuki Inamoto. Remember, this car served a drive-through penalty in the early laps of the race because unfortunately his teammate caused an incident on the opening lap. Now, take a look at the replay. The Lamborghini in the background just behind the Lexus looked one way and looked the other. Morio Nitta was probably thinking, it's all right, where is he, where is he? Then, was the contact? No, maybe not quite, but the Lamborghini swept around the outside. Seito Nanaka was in the middle of the track. There was nowhere for Morio Nitta to go, so he had to back off, and Nomoto immediately put that Toyota between them. Poor old Nanaka at this last 3 corners there had nowhere else to go. He had to stay on the black stuff. It was up to the others to get past, but as you can see, 1 lap after the overtake was made, there's a gap between them of about 1.5 seconds already. Haven't seen so much of Bingo Racing since they took the lead of the race, but it's stretching out. It's 4.5 seconds. Yukio Sasahara stretching the advantage for the multicoloured, fantastic looking Callaway Corvette. Down into turn 10 it goes. Its advantage over the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari settled, actually. They've almost lapped at identical pace for the last couple of laps. There is a 2nd place Ferrari. Shinichi Takagi pushing on, pushing on. He's got 10.5 minutes remaining. Can he close the gap? Certainly looking as though that Ferrari's handling beautifully. Fabulous flow being shown by the way Shinichi Takagi's driving. Car in 3rd place, fantastic result for him if he can get it to the finish in 3rd. He'll also win the GT3 AM class. It's Tade Uematsu doing the entire race in the Team Machina. McLaren, lights are flashing, but really running on his own. He's about 25 seconds clear of the Lamborghini. He's just moved into 4th place. He's got plenty of... he should be able to protect that over the next 10 minutes. But 3rd place, GT3 AM victory will be very well earned indeed. And again, just checking, the fastest lap of the race is still 1 set, a handful of laps ago by Yuki Inamoto in that 563 Lamborghini. ANR, run for ANR I should say, the Japanese team by Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. So let's have a look what the gap is from Tadeu Uematsu. Well, at the moment he's, I'm just waiting for the gap to the 2nd place Ferrari, but it's about half a lap, so it's rather immaterial. In fact, 44 seconds it just comes up now. 1st and 2nd. That's the Bingo Racing Corvette. We're looking at that at the moment. That's leading the race. That's 4.5 seconds clear of 2nd place Takagi's K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. Then 44 seconds more before further seconds delay back to the car that leads GT3 AM. And it really is a case that the GT3 drivers have to sort of be a little bit patient going around the GT4 runners. Here is the class leader in GT4. Masaki Kano, very good, another good strong season last year, was the GT World Challenge Asia GT4 champion and also the Japan Cup GT4 champion. This year though, the Japan Cup is being run separately to GT World Challenge Asia, not just this meeting where it's entirely separate, but when it's alongside them in 2 weekends time at Fuji, there will be a separate race for the Japan Cup runners. Thus is the result of the expanding, burgeoning GT3 and GT4 scene across Asia. But Wise Racing continue to go well, still with that comfortable 10-second margin over Takeshi Suehiro, who's done the overtaking in GT4 for Wakayama Toyota team, but is not going to get close to this neat and tidy BMW. But let's go to
選手、ご自身のスピードちょっと不運にね巻き込まれてしまったんですけれども、素晴らしいカムバックです。
まあ不運というかね、7号車のフェラーリにちょっと迷惑かけて、まあドライブペナルティ出てるんで、自分がちょっと突っ込みすぎちゃって、自分アジアの GT ワールドねチャレンジアジアから来てるんだけど、なんかそのめちゃくちゃ荒っぽいわけですよ33台。その感覚が残っちゃってたのか、ちょっと7号車のゆずこさんね山崎さんに迷惑かけちゃって申し訳ないな。
So first of all, he wants to apologize to the 7 car. He went a little bit too aggressive, and he knows that it was his fault. So it was their fault that they got the penalty, but now Nemoto-san is doing a great job. もう素晴らしいバトルで GT4 をね使いながらうまく抜きましたけど、どんな感じで見てました？
ね、さっきのバトルの新田さんもねよく知ってる先輩で、もうさすがのバトルで、もう2人とも多分笑いながらやってんじゃない。
そう見
てられる、安心して見てられるバトルで。
ではこの先もね頑張ってください。
いや本当にありがとうございます。
So they know each other very well, Nita-san and Nemoto-san. So he thinks that they're just having a blast, laughing in the car and just enjoying the racing. And he's very happy that he kind of did a comeback after the penalty.
Thank you very much, Amy. What battling in the GT4 class. Porsche versus Toyota, and in the background the Comet Racing Ferrari. But Sunrise Boulevard make progress there. That's Daiki Fujiwara. Now let's take a look from Seito Nonaka's windscreen. Is he going to be able to fight his way back? He's had a couple of loose laps recently. This is from a driver with experience in the car, but it shows some teams have just maybe got the better setup for here at Sugo. Such a tricky testing circuit, but even in that long final corner, turn 13, you can see that the Sunrise Boulevard Porsche seemed to have a little bit more grip and certainly was accelerating away, holding down second in GT4. Sorry, third in GT4, having just moved up a position. Comet Racing Ferrari sweeps past, and that's Yusuke Yamasaki. As you would expect, the GT3 runners that much faster than the GT4s, but it doesn't seem to matter which the classes are in. There's some great battling here at Sportsman Sugo. We've got the second 1 hour race this afternoon, and that will kick off at 3:15. And I think a lot will be learned from this race. For Comet Racing, it would be just the mishap cost them a lot of track position in the first half of the race. I don't think there's any particular damage that the Comet Racing car is carrying for Yusuke Yamasaki, but certainly there'll be a lot to consider. This is the view from the windscreen of the Comet Racing Ferrari. Almost clear track ahead of him. Second longest straight on the circuit, down through the little kink at turn 9. You can just see a couple of the GT4 runners up ahead as he turns into turn 10. Down the slope he goes. Slope is eased off, but it's still dropping a little bit. Turn 11, a left-hander. Over the curbs, not too much on the right. Turn 12, over the curbs on the inside, then getting the car from the right across the left to take the widest line into turn 13, the long corner, lowest point on the circuit. And now starting to climb. Can't see the pit buildings. They come up the straight, they can see a bridge over the circuit, still see nothing. Then finally, when they get to this crest, suddenly it comes into the view. Grandstand to the in front, grandstand to the side, and pit lane as well. That's 38 laps coming up for Comet Racing Ferrari. 38 already completed by Yukio Sasahara, leading the race with a 5.5 second advantage. Only under 4 minutes remain in this race, so a couple more laps one would suggest, or there or thereabouts. And then it's a case of carrying the experience gained in the first race to the second race, where the drivers who started race 1 will be the second driver in race 2. It all gets changed around. Oh, and one other thing, the first 3 finishes in this race will have to have longer pit stops in the second race. The race winner, and it looks like it's going to be the Bingo Racing Ferrari, the Corvette, this car here, will have an extra 15 seconds at a standstill when it makes its pit stop midway through race 2. The car, the Ferrari 98 of K-Tunes Racing, if it finishes second, will have an extra 10 seconds at its pit stop in race 2. And today, Uematsu in the third place. McLaren from Team Machina will have an extra 5 seconds success penalty to serve in the pit stop. May not feel like a gift, but it's a way of shuffling the order, and the teams work their way around it. Again, great shots through the windscreen of the Corvette, the Bingo Racing car that's leading at this race. He can get close to the tail, so it's the Lexus up ahead of him. Mario Nitter is running in 5th place overall. Well, there we are, we've got only 5 cars on the lead lap, and at the end of this lap it may only be the 4. Mario Nitter put up such a fight against Yuki Inamoto, but the Lexus event driver eventually had to cede to Yuki Inamoto's Lamborghini, and in the interval between then and now, about a 13-second gap has opened up, showing how much Inamoto was being held back by Mario Nitter in the Lexus. The Lexus runs a little bit wide, but not enough space just yet for the race leader to go through. The marshals will be waving their flags, yep, as he goes through, and good to see Nitter not trying to interrupt the race leader. 2 minutes and 5 seconds remain, so we'll complete this lap and the next one before we get to the end of the hour. The rumbling Corvette up the hill. He's about to put another lap on the run-up sports Nissan as well. Certainly Ukiyo Sasahara showing the abilities that the team considered were worth having in their camp. And there's the driver who started the Bingo Racing, the number 9 Corvette. He's just having Shinji Takai. He's just going to have to bide his time and wait and watch the screens, but with an advantage of 5 and a bit seconds, that's comfortable, surely. And I must say, both Shinji Takai and Ukiyo Sasahara, the driver on board that Bingo Corvette at the moment, have not put a wheel wrong in this race. Daisuke Yamawaki, who started the car that's in second place, the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari, drove beautifully. Shinichi Takagi not quite matching that same level, but he's actually got up to speed and then stayed on it. In fact, his best lap is very, very competitive indeed. 1 minute 21.497 seconds. The best is still 1 minute 21.157 seconds. That's Yuki Inamoto. Now, both the classes have, GT3 and GT4 have different categories. They've got different classes, I should say. GT4 is being led by this car. It's the Wise Racing BMW, and 4 of the rival cars are also Silver AM ranked driver pairings, but the car bring up there is 2 AM class drivers, so lower ranked drivers sharing the ABSA Motorsport Mercedes, so it's probably no surprise it's at the tail of the field. But in GT3, the more powerful class at the front of the field, it's Pro-Am lineups and also AMs too, and the leading GT3 AM runner is Tadeu Uematsu. GT4 AM, I just mentioned the ABSA Motorsport Mercedes, there it is. So they should be guaranteed a class victory, and the driver who's probably guaranteed outright victory as we go around the final lap, turns 5 and 6 under his belt, is Ukiyo Sasahara, and already Shinji Takai up on the pit wall, ready to cheer his teammate through for the first victory in the first race of the first round of the 2024 Japan Cup. Half a lap to go, that long back straight holds no fears for him. 6.5 seconds clear. The last couple of laps just eked out a tiny margin of advantage over the chasing Shinichi Takagi. So it's Corvette from Ferrari, from McLaren, 3 different manufacturers in the top 3 positions, 2 in Pro-Am pairings, and then, as I said, GT3 AM class leader is Tadeu Uematsu in 3rd place. But right now, sweeping into and through and then up the hill out of turn 13 for the final time. The last corner of the last lap, Bingo Racing going to take the first victory in the opening round of the Japan Cup, and victory will go to Bingo Racing with Ukiyo Sasahara completing the job that was started by Shinji Takai. The second place K-Tunes Racing Ferrari now crosses the line. The gap between them just under 8 seconds between the Bingo Racing Corvette and the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. Have to wait a little bit longer, about another half minute or so, and then the car that should win. No, in fact, just been an overtake on the last lap. I was about to say GT3 AM, and 3rd place will go to Tadeu Uematsu. He's been overtaken by the Lamborghini of Yuki Inamoto. He's moved up to 3rd place, but GT4, this is not going to change at all. Victory will go up the hill. Goes Masaki Kano. He's moving closer to the pit wall. Can't see the pit wall yet. Now he can. Now he can see his crew. Comet Racing Ferrari goes past. That's not in the same class. GT4 victory goes very nicely indeed by a margin. Well, we'll wait and see where the second place car in GT4 comes. Seita Nonaka fell down the order. It should be car number 38 coming through. 82 follows it. They're 2nd and 3rd in GT4. And here comes a car that was in the wars. Aridamo Monopo got shunted to the back on the opening lap. Here comes the car that's taken 3rd place overall. The Lamborghini, bright green, comes in 3rd place. And we're waiting for Tadeu Uematsu. There he was, just cresting the hill in the background to take 4th overall. So he still takes class victory. And there's the driver winning GT4 AM, because actually the car number 16, the Mercedes from ABSA, was the only car in class, but a class victory is a class victory. So plenty of racing, plenty of overtaking, and lights are flashing from Ukiyo Sasahara, hand raised, waving to the marshals. A few more corners to go, and the long climb back up to the pit lane, and he'll be parking just in front of the podium. Job very well done, and good performance too from K-Tunes Racing. Really showed their pace in the first half of the race, but the second half we expected the pace was going to rise once the Corvette got into the hands of Ukyo Sasahara, and he did not disappoint. The Lexus, by the way, Morio Nitta taking 5th place overall, 1 lap down, just as you can see, just got lapped moments before the end of the race by the Bingo Racing Corvette. So for Lamborghini, they finished a minute and 7 seconds down, with Yuki Inamoto chasing and chasing, setting the fastest lap of the race. You do wonder, without the drive-through penalty, where would that have put them? Because coming into the pit lane, being waved through at the speed limit, cost them. Don't think it'd be enough to take victory, maybe or 2nd place, but surely good for 3rd. Right, through the victory arch, the opening race, the opening round of the Japan Cup for 2024. It's Bingo Racing. Shinji Takai goes down delighted with all he's seeing down there, because his teammate Ukyo Sasahara out of the car, big hugs all around, and that's the first victory of the season. Victory in GT4, that should slot in just behind the race-winning car. Masaki Kano bringing it in. Yuki Fujii doing the early running. You can also see down there other cars that featured, including the car that 2nd overall led the first half of the race. That's the number 98 K-Tunes Racing Ferrari. But for Bingo Racing, it's all about getting the maximum points in the opening race, and they had some great racing and chasing to do as well. But for Shinji Takai and Ukyo Sasahara, that's the first maximum point haul of the season. So for Sasahara, it's helmet off, earpieces out, cap on his head, and Amy Azar will be down there to catch the interview from the winning crew of Bingo Racing. And let's go down with Amy. She's caught Shinji Takai, Ukyo Sasahara, our winners.
はい、ジャパンカップ開幕戦のウィナーおめでとうございます。武井選手も素晴らしいスタートでクリーンにね、車を持って帰ってきてレースバスケットを笹原選手やってくれましたけれども、おめでとうございます。昨シーズンに引き続き開幕戦で優勝。
そうですね、ありがとうございます。本当に笹原選手がね、先週も優勝してるんで、なんか連勝を自分のせいでなんか連勝を逃すとちょっと嫌だなと思ってたんで、まあ僕のスチントはすごい苦しかったんですけど、まあ本当に車を同じ順位で笹原選手にね渡すことだけ考えて頑張って走りました。はい。
おめでとうございます。So he didn't want to interrupt the second win after last weekend's win of Sasahara. So he's very happy that he could keep his position and gave the car clean to him. And then he was very happy when the battle happened. And now they're here again. Sasahara 選手、おめでとうございます。2週連続ウィンです。
はい、嬉しいですね。僕にとってもすごい思い入れのある、はい、コルベットで、武井選手とね、ずっと勝ちたかったんで、まあ良かったです。とにかく、まあ、5年ぶりだったんですけど、なんかやっとなんか引っかかってるものが少し取れた気がします。
もう高木選手との素晴らしいバトル炸裂、瞬間振り返っていかがでしたか？
はい、もう相手が高木選手だからこちらも信頼してできましたし、まあ何よりお互いこうねクリーンにバトルしようっていうのは心がけたんですね。はい、まあそこには本当感謝したいです。
改めましておめでとうございます。So he does have a lot of memories with the Corvette and is very, very happy and a little bit emotional about this win. And it's been a great weekend after last weekend's win. So he's very happy about this. And also the battle with Takagi was just great. He knows him very well and it was just amazing being out there and they're just embracing it. Back to you.
Thank you, Amy. We certainly enjoyed the battle in the second half of the race between Shinichi Takagi and Ukyo Sasahara. He's on a winning streak, a win last weekend, a win this weekend. Suzuka to Sugo, he's got one more race here coming this afternoon. Packed down there on the grid, not the grid, in the pit lane, and we're looking for the GT4 class winners, and certainly it's been a really, really strong run from Wise Racing in their M4 GT4. Yuki Fujii and Masaki Kano, and they took the class victory, and Amy is down with Wise Racing. And let's find out the thoughts of the GT4 winners.
GT4 ウィナーおめでとうございます。ぶっちぎりでした。
ありがとうございます。もう加納さんがすごい頑張ってくださって、はい、いい勝利だったと思います。
So he's very thankful for the job Kano-san did, and they just deserved this win, and he's very happy. 加納選手、 そうそう、今シーズン初めてですけれども、早速ウィンです。おめでとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
どんなスティントでしたか？
いや、もう出ていってね、GR の86と、去年もね戦ってるんで、野中選手なんでね、5秒差やから、さあどこまで耐えれるかなと思いながらやってましたけど、結構タイヤもね僕ら変えていったんで、なのでなんとか最初にプッシュして、後半きつかったですけど、なんとかマネジメントしながらレースできたかなと思います。はい。
ぶち切りのウィンおめでとうございました。So yes, he was a little bit worried about the car behind, the GR Supra, but he was just looking into the back mirror and was just praying that he will push as hard as he can, that he doesn't see the Supra behind. And well, now they're here, so they're very happy about it.
Thank you, Amy. And again, you can see from the driver who's... let's take a look at the results. Masaki Kano clearly worked hard for that one. Yukio Sasahara took victory of Bingo Racing, just under 8 seconds clear his Corvette to the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari that led the first half of the race, with Daisuke Yamawaki being followed by Shinichi Takagi in that. The car that the Lamborghini took third place for ANR with VSR, and that included a drive-through penalty and a fantastic chase up through the order, and just moving to third place at the end for Yuki Nomoto. GT3 AM was a driver who drove solo today at Uematsu, only just being overhauled in his McLaren from Team Machina. Then K-Tunes Racing with the second of their cars, this one a Lexus, just being lapped at the very end to take fifth. Then behind, the Comet Racing Ferrari GT3 AM, then the D-Station Racing Aston Martin, and the Run-Up Sports Nissan. 9th overall, and winning GT4 was Wise Racing with the BMW. We just heard from Yuki Fujii and Masaki Kano. Wakayama Toyota came good, moved up to second place in class in their Toyota. And Sunrise Boulevard doing a great job for Porsche there, third in class. Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia led away from pole in GT4 and got shoveled to the back with that incident on the opening lap, and then had a hard run to the finish at the end of the race. But outright victory going to Bingo Racing, and their yellow, red and blue Corvette was the thing. So down to Amy with the podium ceremony. Oh, what an entrance to the podium, bursting through the paper backdrop there. Our winners from Bingo Racing. And that Shinji Takai and Ukio Sasahara first onto the podium. What a grandiose entrance there. They clearly enjoyed that. Up into second place, K-Tunes Racing Ferrari duo, Daisuke Yamawaki and Shinichi Takagi. And third place on the podium will be the Lamborghini crew of Yuki Nomoto and Akiru Mitsutani. Certainly smiles all round. I think it's a great circuit to race on here. Sportsland Sugo. The drivers really enjoy it. The fans enjoy it. Brilliant views. The photographers absolutely love it. Right. Presentations by Masahiko Ida, founder of Dixel, putting the trophies for the third place crew into the hands of ANR with Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. K-Tunes Racing, busy with 3 cars in this field, but their Ferrari crew taking second place overall. But for Bingo Racing, that's Shinji Takai and Ukio Sasahara, the victory celebrations for their trophies on the top step. This is race 1 of round 1 of the Japan Cup for 2024. These are the first trophies. And all of these runners competing in the Pro-Am category of the GT3 division. Trophies down, drivers trying to think what's happening next. There is some fizz, but certainly Shinji Takai's taken his young child away from the likely spray of champagne. And as the music rings out, they've got to do it all over again this afternoon, and Shinji has come back onto the podium for the celebrations. A hard-fought win, but in the end, clear by fully 8 seconds. It was a great run for them, but let's see how it gets changed in race number 2, which comes up later this afternoon, when the order's reversed in that the second driver in the first race will start the second race in first, if you follow my thinking. But right now, it's Corvette with the victory in the opening round. Bingo Racing taking the honours, but let's see how it shakes out in the second of the race. Plenty more celebrations coming up on the podium, because we've got the GT3 and podium ceremony, then the GT4 podiums as well. But for now, Bingo Racing from the top step, they have the biggest smiles. So back for the photographers to take their photos. A bit more fizz from Shinichi Takagi there. waiting for the signal to escape, but certainly smiles all round. It's been a fun podium. And I ask myself, how did it all happen? Let's take a look back at the highlights. Beautiful clean start. The Ferrari on pole position, doing everything it needed to do. The Bingo Racing Corvette with Shinji Takai looked to the outside, decided the better of it. The Lamborghini thought about moving up into third position, then decided to go for fourth, backed out. Tadao Uematsu swooping into third in his McLaren, but the problem came here, turn 4. The Lamborghini not really close enough, goes up the inside, 2 wheels on the grass, loses grip, bam, slams into the tail of the Comet Racing Ferrari. That was really bad news indeed for Yorikatsu Sujiko. There it was, spun in the background. All the GT4 runners came through, but that was a shuffle too, because the GT4 class leader got shuffled to the back in the sort out, and the race was all about the K-Tunes Racing Ferrari that led coming into the pits, but after the pit stops, in no time at all, Ukyo Sasahara got onto the tail of Shinichi Takagi, onto the tail of the Ferrari, and it was nip and tuck, and then got very, very robust indeed, very clean, but they were just side by side and giving no ground whatsoever. And then, was there a touch here? Yes, there was a little bit of a kiss, we'll call it, around the tight infield section of the circuit. They pressed on, and eventually the Ferrari did get shovel wide on the exit of turn 4, right in front of a couple of the cars in GT4. And that was a battle that would rage on, and in fact come unstuck at the very same point of the circuit. Here we go, turn 5, and unfortunately Seitan Nanaka a little bit wide on the way and clumped the curbs on the inside and got shoveled wide, and that allowed Wakayama Toyota's Yoshiyuki Ochai to come on through. And then this was a battle for 4th place. The Lexus driver Morio Nito actually got completely unsighted, and Yuki Inamoto swept around the outside, right on the tail of a couple of the GT4 runners, but he got his Lamborghini ahead and then pulled clear, and eventually would rise and rise and rise and get to 3rd place on the final lap. But victory, there was no doubt about it. Ukyo Sasahara building on a really good attack, and he took victory by 8 seconds of Bingo Racing. First blood to Corvette, bringing it home for that first victory. Delight all round, Shinji Takai there to give him a man hug, shake him up and down, and then they headed off to the podium. Now back on the podium, this is again the GT3, but these are the AM runners, and victory in class went today to the driver who did all the work on his own, Car 55 team Machina's Tadao Uematsu. He gets his trophy. 2nd place in class, Comet Racing, that obviously got pushed on the opening lap of the race, so they at least received the trophies for 2nd place. Yamasaki and Suzuki, and 3rd place was D-Station Racing, Aston Martin crew of Kenji Hama and Tatsuya Hoshino. But Tadao Uematsu, the whole race on his own, and he won the class very comfortably indeed. So he'll be delighted with the form of the team Machina and McLaren. He's got to do it all over again, so he'll have had 2 hours of racing today, double the amount of all his rivals. But GT3, outright victory for Bingo Racing Corvette, and just shoveled back on the final lap to 4th overall. But victory in GT3 out. Tadao Uematsu, he gets the spray, can't see what he's doing. Eventually will get the cork out of his bottle, but you can forgive him for being a little more fatigued than his friends and rivals in the GT3 outclass. And again, great mix of manufacturers. This was McLaren beating Ferrari, beating Aston Martin. This is what GT3 racing is all about. People loving their cars and fans having all these different manufacturers to choose between. Which is their favourite? So feeling happy, got the trophies. Again, the cars are all lined up in the pit lane, all the photographers shooting across to the podium. And of course, we've got the GT4 podiums to follow as well, but it's been a really good start to the 2024 Japan Cup. All the races will be separated from the GT World Challenge this year, but the points will go on the board. But certainly for Bingo Racing, top of the charts in GT3, and they've laid down the marker. They've got another chance to see if they can grab maximum points this afternoon in the 2nd of the 2 1-hour races here at Sportsland Sugo. It's a fun circuit, great for driving, great for spectating. For overtaking, you've got to choose your moment, and there was some great overtaking in the first 1 hour of action here at Sugo. So now we're waiting for the GT4 podiums and being called out. The team 3rd in class, that Sunrise Boulevard, the Porsche duo of Yoshitomo Makino and Daiki Fujiwara. They really worked very hard for their points today. 2nd place in class, going better and better. Wakayama Toyota with Hojus Racing, their Toyota driven by Takeshi Suehiro and Toshiyuki Ochai, and they look suitably pleased with their second place. But for Wise Racing, the BMW crew, the black BMW with the red and blue flashes, like the suits of Yuki Fuji and Masaki Kano, there they step onto the top step of the GT4 podium. So it's been a great deal of fun. We've got to do it all over again, but it's been a great start to the Japan Club here at Sugo. So for the drivers, looking very pleased up on the top step of the podium, Masaki Kano, who brought it home, and Yuki Fuji. Again, GT4, very happy hunting ground in the Asian Series for BMW drivers. They came out on top today. Well, will they do the same next time around? Certainly you'd expect a little bit more from Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia. They started on pole, their race was undone, turn 4 on the opening lap. Not their fault, and it was a case of catch-up after that, but second half of the race, the pace shown by Wise Racing was very strong indeed. That's why Masaki Kano has so many wins in class under his belt, and there he is, all smiles on the top step of the podium. He's obviously got someone with a very good shot of champagne. That's entertained him almost as much as winning the class. So the clink of the bottles. Second race here at Sportsland Sugo starts at 3:15 this afternoon. Another hour of racing with the driver change in the middle. And if we have as much overtaking and brilliant scraps up and down the field, we'll be very, very pleased indeed. So the Japan Cup has really launched itself to an excellent start. 2 weeks after this, we have round 2 at Fuji, so the action's going to come thick and fast. And that just leaves one podium ceremony, but the drivers who step onto it had a fairly big inkling that they would be taking victory in class, because in fact they're the only GT4 AM runners. But that's to take nothing away from SRO Motorsport, Mercedes crew of Kiwamu Katayama and Takashi Toyoda. They did come last overall, but they got some useful mileage under their belts, and their fastest lap wasn't too far off the pace of the K-Tunes Racing Supra, so maybe they will have a chance to have someone to get up close and race with. Looking ahead to round 2 of the Japan Cup, and the field is going to be boosted by at least a couple of cars, so it's going in the right direction. So just waiting for the GT4 AM podium ceremony. Zawa's calling them out. SRO Motorsport, the Mercedes crew of Kiwamu Katayama and Takashi Toyoda. Out they come. They're looking suitably happy, because they also know they've got to do it all over again this afternoon. So a bow to the crowd, a bow to his friends and family. So the last podium ceremony, Masahiko Ida, founder of Dixel, giving the GT4 AM race winners trophy there. Class winners, 14th overall in the 14-car field, but still victory in the GT4 AM class, and obviously they'll look to grab some more points in race 2 later this afternoon. So it's been fun, a lot to consider, and certainly plenty of race action here. That is all from race 1. We've got to do it again later this afternoon. The race will start at 3:15. Will it be Bingo Racing winning again? Let's find out.